In other news, the Parliamentary Section 194 Committee inquiring the fitness to hold office of Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane has made a number of scathing findings against her. The committee began working on its draft report on Friday. It will resume tomorrow. The report has already made a number of findings suggesting incompetence or misconduct. Let's speak to Zikalala attorneys Mpumelelo Zikalala. Mr. Zikalala, great to have you with us as always. The committee has not reached a final conclusion on whether she should be removed or not, but is the writing on the wall?
Good evening to you and also to the viewers. I think it is taking into account the number of comments or the things which were discussed yesterday and the interim finding that has been made thus far, with the meeting to continue tomorrow. I think the writing is on the wall as to what the finding of the committee is going to be. But what is going to be mostly important is that can their findings be able to surprise or be able to test scrutiny if it would be evaluated by a higher court in terms of both substantive fairness and procedural fairness. The most important thing being, did you or are you able to come to a conclusive conclusion, even though the public protector has not made any closing arguments, even though the process cannot be stated in its full term that it has been finalized? And what evidence did you look at in coming to the conclusions that you are coming to? If you can't answer those questions, then unfortunately you run the risk of all these processes and the monies that have been paid going to waste, because they will be ruled as by the High Court has been unlawful and something cannot be taken into account.
And she has consistently said the committee is biased, the chair is biased, she has been treated unfairly. So presumably she will fight the final report. History suggests that she will definitely try and have it overturned.
But I think on that one, the writing is also on the wall also, because you still have a constitutional court judgment in which individuals can then be saying they are still waiting for it. You still have another SCA judgment pertaining to whether the chairperson should be able to continue or not, still not being adjudicated. So there are a number of things that have not been closed off in this process. And it must be noted that I think South Africans or maybe Parliament missed a very important opportunity here of making history in terms of saying, in what situations can we be able to remove a public protector? What are going to be the ground rules in order for doing that? And they've clouded this process with external factors and things that should have not been considered, instead of digging down and boiling down to the nitty-gritties and the core functions of what they are there to do, what the law actually states that they must be able to do. Most importantly, give the other party an adequate opportunity to make their submissions, so that when you come to a conclusion, if we're ever to go to a higher court, or even the constitutional court that is, the constitutional court will come back and say, the process that you have followed to the T, substantive fairness was applied through and through, and indeed the adjudicators that were there were unbiased, and they were simply applying what the law actually states, and their findings are correct. If we don't have that, then I'm worried about the wastage, especially the financial one, the time that has been wasted on this, and yet at the end of the day, we're not going to come back with a plausible conclusion.
So are you saying that she should have been accommodated? She wanted the lawyers of her choice talk about finances. There were concerns about the cost of that. But are you saying that the committee should have bent over backwards to give her what she said she needed to present her side?
Not so much bending over backwards, but the process of saying, I want to make sure that there's a level playing field between the two. Now, let's look at the committee. They have a team of legal advisors that are there advising the committee as to what to do on a daily basis. The same should be afforded to the public protector. In fact, the legal right was something which was confirmed by the Constitutional Court. Everyone has a right to do so. Even if I were to go to court tomorrow, I would want to have someone who's going to represent me despite knowing what the law actually states. And most importantly, to give effect to that right, then all the processes that says, once that individual of my choice has been chosen, they must be given equal opportunity and space to make those submissions, whether they want to do it in writing and whether they want to do it orally. They must be given an opportunity to do so, because if you don't do so, the procedural fairness of the whole process then comes under scrutiny, and based on procedural flaws that might have taken place, it renders the whole process as null and void, which is something that you don't want to do as a chairperson. So it's a process of saying, let me try and accommodate you as much as possible, so that if I go to court, the court will be able to see that I had no other plausible reasons or opportunity or avenue which was available to me than to continue without listening to you, because of the ample times in which you're given the opportunity to present to us, and you have failed to present yourself, or you have failed to make those presentations. Now, in this case, there have been instances in which for lack of a better word, the chairperson has been a bit harsher in terms of accommodating the public protector. And that certainly screams procedural fairness would be under scrutiny when the matter goes to court, if it ever goes to court.
Some have questioned, finally, the wisdom of doing this in the first place just before her term of office ends on the 14th of October. But does the principle matter here if it was done procedurally correctly 100%?
I think Parliament has a process and latitude of saying that we want to remove the public protector, or we want to engage in an investigation to determine whether we have a public protector that is able to suffice what is required as per the legislation. Parliament has a right to do that. That is fine. But what matters the most is that how is that particular committee going to be able to do that? Are you going to have adjudicators or presiding officers who are not going to be biased? And I certainly think the presiding officer should not have came from political parties. Because political parties have an interest in this matter. Democratic Alliance and all the others that are there would have a certain interest in how things are supposed to be done. Now, in order for you to be carefully advised as to what to do as Parliament, you need independent individuals who are equally trained to do what they do, to give you perfect advice as to how to move, and advice which is going to be constitutionally valid, and advice which is going to suffice all the tests when it comes to legal compliance. If you don't have that, you're engaging in a flawed process, which is very expensive, and it's not going to deliver the results that you are looking for at the end of the day.
All right, we'll see what comes out of the finalization of the report, perhaps tomorrow. Mpumelelo Zikalala from Zikalala Attorneys.